Good morning. It is May 6th, 2024, and I'm excited to be joined today by Dave Victorson and Brittany Oliveira coming to us from Mango Languages to talk to us about ASL Inside. I got a little preview of this last week, and I am really excited about this product and this presentation. So, without any further ado, Dave, are you ready to kind of take over and show us some stuff?
Yeah, I sure am. I sure am.
All right. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and that should put you in control.
Okay, I'll share my screen and then we'll get started. Okay, what you should be seeing now is Mango presentation, why ASL cultural notes. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay. Hello, good afternoon, good morning. I'm out in Arizona, and I know you guys are all spread out in Wisconsin. Thrilled to be here. Great to have this opportunity. We partnered with Mango. I'm the co-founder of ASL Inside. We partnered with Mango last year to bring sign language to their platform, and we raced forward with a solution, and now it's ready for prime time. So we're real excited to share it with you. You can see my agenda here on the right. I've got a couple of inserts in between it, but let's just get started. It's your turn. Give that a try. That's fantastic. It's your turn again. Let's see you try that. Do you have a library card? You're getting it. And then one more. Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. In the deaf world, just a simple phrase or two like that can mean a huge difference in a deaf person's experience in your library, in your local grocery store, really anywhere out in the community. Just a few simple phrases turn what would otherwise be a social interaction, just devoid of social interaction, to just that same customs and courtesies that we hearing people are used to and just assume that everybody experiences it the same way. But in reality, in the deaf world, their day is silent with virtually no interruptions unless somebody goes out of their way to make a little bit of a difference in their daily experience. Oops. Okay, so why American Sign Language? Well, there are a couple of reasons that make sense here. When Mango contacted us, we had already been in touch with them for the 3 previous years, but they got back to us and said, hey, sign language is consistently the most #1 requested language for their platform. And if you add on top of that, Modern Language Association, it's a Washington think tank, has done the research, called every department, college department in the country to get the survey of their languages, and they came back and said ASL is the 3rd most popular studied in the United States. It's also gone pretty much mainstream. Here, Troy Kotsur won the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor in this movie, Coda. Move this down. And if you haven't seen that movie, that's an amazing movie. It's great for all audiences, and I recommend you see it. Troy happens to be a great friend of my wife's, and he and his wife were actually in some of our curriculum. So we were lucky to have them stop by our studio one day just for lunch. We knew they were coming, so we made sure the lights were all set up, the cameras, everything, the teleprompter. And when they came in, there were 2 stools sitting in front of the camera, and we just said, hey, sit and read the prompter. And they did it, and just spur of the moment, they did amazing work, and they made it into our curriculum. So that was fun. Another reason why? Well, in Wisconsin, a ton of schools, colleges, and universities are already teaching sign language. So it's not just Mango and ASL Inside promoting this in your state, it's the schools already here, there. And in addition to the colleges and universities, there are way more high schools typically in each state that teach sign language than the colleges do. And it enables the students to get their college credit or their language requirement out of the way, just as they would as they were taking French or Spanish. I've got a handful of cultural tips here that are interesting thought points, and I just want you to take these back with you and just think through these. But let's read this. I'll read it out loud. Will the deaf continue visiting places, businesses that have employees fluent in ASL? And you can throw it in the chat. Yeah, you can throw it in the chat if you like, yes or no, or not sure. So the answer to this one is a huge yes. My wife is profoundly deaf, and she goes almost exclusively to the same grocery store that she's been going to for 10 years, primarily because two of the employees there, after she had started going there, took sign language classes at the local community college. And now when she goes in, they practically act as her personal shopper, asking her if she needs any help finding anything. And it's because now they are fluent or not at a deaf native signing level, but fluent enough to have a conversation with my wife. Same thing happens at the local coffee shop. She goes to the same place every time. They have her order waiting for her when she gets to the front of the line. She never even has to order it. They make small talk, short conversation, and she's on her way. But it's because they know her and they've taken the time to learn sign language. So once that happens, places like that become popular in the deaf community, and more deaf people will start to show up, and pretty soon they'll have that reputation, and it's just known that the deaf are going to be at that coffee shop at 8 a.m. on Saturday, or they're going to go shopping at that grocery store when those employees are there who can sign. And so that one's deaf friendly environment. Deaf standard time. This is a funny one. What happens here is, let's say you have an event you're hosting at your library that's supposed to end at 6 because the library closes at 7 and you want to clean up. Well, at 6 o'clock, when everybody's supposed to leave, the deaf might start to say, okay, I'm going to leave now. But they're going to spend every minute of that additional time available to continue saying goodbye and maybe catch up on a little bit more conversation before you actually turn out the lights. And when you turn out the lights and leave out the front door, the deaf are going to be standing outside your front door still talking, grabbing that opportunity to communicate in their native language, because they might go several days or even a week or more without being able to sign fluently to anyone. So they're not going to leave that opportunity hanging there without making sure they cover all the new topics in their lives and then getting in their last goodbyes. So that one's true, deaf standard time. If I'm in between the stacks in your library and I'm deaf, it's completely acceptable to tap them on the shoulder from behind, not on the head, but on the shoulder, or maybe even just on the upper arm to get their attention. If I'm hearing and I'm in the stacks and you do that, it might feel a little bit weird and I look at you, but in the deaf world, that's part of the culture. That's how you get their attention when you don't have eye contact made. Do these people sign differently? These are all of the people in the curriculum that we built and that Mango is actually now delivering, is integrated into their platform. And the answer here is a huge yes. They all sign differently. They're all deaf or hard of hearing, but their signing clarity is different depending upon where they came from, when they learned sign, who they learned it from. There's standards in the sign language community, but because the language is still pretty new relative to, let's just call it English or French or Spanish, it's evolving pretty rapidly. But the people who teach it have also got varying skill levels. And I'll hit a couple of these. This is our founder here on the left. And she's known as the Shakespeare of sign language for her clarity and eloquence. And people really want to model her signing style. She had a deaf older sister, but 4 hearing siblings. And at 5 years old, she was shipped off to a residential deaf school and came home on the weekends. Juan grew up here in Arizona. He had never met a deaf person until he went to Arizona State University. He went to a mainstream high school, and at 18, when he went to ASU, learned that there was a whole new world out there of deaf people, deaf adults, and learned sign language, and then met Sierra also at Arizona State University. So his signing is different than hers. Troy, Academy Award-winning actor, he's a chameleon. He could watch a video clip of any one of these people and then copy their signing. It's fascinating to watch. He's just super skilled. He grew up going to a deaf day school, and then at 12 years old, decided to transfer to a mainstream public school because he wanted to play sports, and the sports teams at the public school were much better. Let's see. Sophia Stone, she grew up deaf parents, deaf residential school, super fluent in what you would call just the traditional American Sign Language. But you don't get to meet her. You don't get to choose who you meet when you go to a deaf event or pass somebody on the street. So your signing receptive and expressive skills need to fit the audience and the skill set of who's actually there. And then I didn't really know how to title this slide, but I can't emphasize enough that the deaf value communication and clear communication more than anything. So if I were to sign this word, it actually is finger spelled. It's Q, that's a Q, U, I, there's a little pinky I, and then with one index finger, you trace the Z shape. But I misspelled this thing on purpose, and those last two Z's could be spelled with 2 fingers in a double Z. In any case, you didn't have to see the capital Q or the lowercase q or the double Z to know that we were just talking about a quiz. In the deaf world, because of the variety of signing styles and approaches, that's what matters. We all knew as soon as this word flashed up that a quiz might be coming next. It's not, but it could be coming next. The deaf value that more than perfection in the spelling. And if they have a question, they're going to clear it up. They're not going to sit there and allow you to continue signing if they don't understand what you said, because that moment of communication and opportunity is too great for them to pass up. So now we get on to how do you build this? How do you build an ASL community within your library? Well, I took a look at Middleton Public Library, and already they're 99% of the way there to having a robust deaf community come to the library on a consistent and programmatic basis. And I'll show you the 3 reasons why. The preschool story time is super popular for parents. They need to find places for the parents to go. You all know that. And it's also very popular to teach young children basic signs at an early age because they can communicate pre-verbally with sign language. So this preschool story time, if Middleton Public Library brought in a deaf parent or a deaf adult who was skilled at storytelling, they could sign that same story with an interpreter in the library and make it super inclusive for all the kids, deaf and hearing, and the parents as well. And again, remember, if the parents go here, the deaf parents, they're going to get something out of it and stay longer too, simply because they have a chance to talk to their friends and peers. It's that deaf standard observation that I explained. Then the ASL happy hour, let's call it a coffee shop happy hour or whatever you want to label it here, you're already gathering adults in the late afternoon at the library. Here's how this could work. You outreach to the local schools, colleges, or high schools to find out who's got a deaf program, because the teachers would love to have their students go here, practice signing, meet deaf adults, and get a feel for what it's like in the deaf community. And then this one, El Defo, I couldn't have scripted this better. I wouldn't even have thought of this, but Middleton Public Library already has an event where the star of the show is El Defo, which is a deaf superhero. So outreach to the local schools again, and also the deaf school in the area, if there is one, would bring in a large number of deaf teens or tweens here to talk about this book, El Defo. A lot of them have probably already read it. It's super popular in the deaf community. And even if you build it, it does take a little bit of work. It's not magic. You're going to have to do some outreach. And I put a few URLs up here: Wisconsin School for the Deaf. And then there's a deaf organization that also, I think this is going to connect you to a Facebook that will then allow you to outreach into the deaf world to promote your events. Same with this one. And I also, again, put the colleges back in here. This really should just be colleges and high schools, because anybody who has a sign language department or program or teaching classes are potential candidates to send students or parents or anybody in the deaf community to your event to share in what you have to offer. So at this point, I'm done with the formal presentation part, and I'm going to jump into the product demo. Excuse me, while I'm getting that set up, if you have any questions, go ahead and send them into the chat, and then Jeff or Courtney can read them, or Brittany can read them to me. Okay, can everybody see my screens? On the left side, it's the Mango homepage, languages and adventure, and on the right side, I'm swiping back and forth, left and right. It's my phone. Can everybody see that?
Yeah, we can see that.
Okay, fantastic. So log in here on the left to Mango. And then I'll go back here. I'm in Spanish right now, but I'll go back and select American Sign Language. Okay, and on my phone, I forget to do this, but this is my mouse pointer. So if I click right here, it won't do anything because it's my phone screen. I'm going to tap. So I'm tapping right where the arrow is right now and launching that sign language. Across the bottom here, let's see. I can swipe left and right to get to different languages. So I'll swipe one over. There's American Sign Language. I'll hit resume. And then I'll hit resume on the website version. I show you this because the experience is almost identical with some minor variations. And you can see here on the phone, it's stacked vertically in a portrait mode. But then on the computer, it's on laptop or landscape mode. So we'll go to the course, and our approach here was just get started. We're not going to introduce the theory and the complexities and nuances of the language formally until later in the module. We just want to get started because your patrons are going to click on a link and go, oh, sign language, I want to learn that. The last thing they want to do is a bunch of reading to get schooled up on the theory of sign language. So here we are. I'm going to put this on pause for just a second. You can see on the right, we call this a magic mirror. And Mango has an amazing technology that allows the hearing spoken languages to be able to match to the standard. So you can capture my voice and then compare it to the sign wave of the actual word spoken by a native speaker and make the comparison. In sign language, we don't have that. There's no ability right now for someone to capture me signing at a native speed and translate that into anything that's meaningful. You can put gloves on and do some slower motion stuff, but there's nothing that's going to go fluent sign language to text or translate it into voice. And so we built this as the next best thing. And if you look here, she's saying, hey, remember I told you could tap someone on the shoulder to get their attention and say in these stacks of the library? Well, if you already have eye contact, you can just wave your hand. Not like this big thing, but just, just subtly wave your hand. They'll continue that eye contact, and then you can continue a dialogue or start a dialogue. But here, this is for practice. So if you need to meet someone, here we go. Hey, I'm just practicing it. And I'm going to copy her. Hello. Hello. And then what? What? So this gives you a chance to try and simulate, well-formed words and phrases. Your name. And we sprinkle this, or we use this magic mirror in various sections of the curriculum. Again, it's to help students model the correct signing. So if you look at the standards and all the people who are experts in teaching language, one of the things that's important is what's the goal? What's the goal for the week? What's the goal for the entire term or for the course? And so we show that to you. We don't actually initially introduce it in words. We just say, hey, at the end of this module, this is what you should be able to do. And it's real simple. It's simple, basic conversations. Hello, what's your name? And here we don't really intend for you to practice this. You can, but we just want you to see that you should be able to join this conversation as either Missy or Caroline and continue the dialogue. The next step is the student lesson. And here's where we get into a little bit more detail about the grammar and the classifiers and other nuances of the language that make it really unique and interesting. And here we go back to this getting attention. We keep talking about this because until you get their attention, you don't have a conversation. You have to somehow make eye contact, looking straight in the eyes with that deaf person in order to have a conversation. There's captions here too. Let's get them on. We either have captions all the way through, so that's the captions are translating what she's saying. And then at times when we want to make emphasis, we'll up here have additional text that's an additional emphasis on what the signer is actually talking about. And so we're in student lesson now. Let me just jump back to the course outline so you can see that. So we've hit get started, end skill, student lesson, classifiers and non-manual markers. Again, here we want you to practice this. So here we are with the magic mirror, classifiers. In a second here, you're going to see them. Classifiers, CL. They're really different hand shapes, and I'm not going to go through all these, but I do want you to see one here. It's just fascinating. It is fascinating to me how the language can be so complex with such a simple hand shape or classifier. Here comes your first classifier. Classifier 1. So look at that. This one finger, index finger up, would stand for the number 1, depending upon how you use it. Let's take a look. She walked. So let's go back just real quick. Classifier 1. She just pointed to that person in the imaginary space over there, but we would have set this up, but she, and then walked. So that one finger, already, you've seen it as the number 1, can refer to a person as she, and then walked. She walked. Now he, she pointed to slightly different place over to the right. He strolled lazily. Back and forth, back and forth. So that one classifier, there are just tons more, and that's a part of the language that you get after time. But when you're first starting out, few things. One, number 1. Then we've got vocabulary each week as well. Same thing here. We want you to practice this. So afternoon. Goes through all of these. It auto plays, and if you don't want autoplay, you could click on any of the words. No. Same thing with the phrases. It behaves a lot like the vocabulary. It automatically plays, or you could select a word from the list, or select a phrase from the list.
Hey, Dave, we have a question in the chat. Somebody's asking, are the people teaching in the videos deaf ASL speakers? They weren't here for the beginning of the webinar.
Yes, yes. Let me pull up something here. Yeah, so all of the people that you see here in this keynote slide are in the presentation. Some of these folks were born deaf, some of them were born hearing and lost their hearing at an early age, and some are hard of hearing. So there's a continuum of, let's just call it completely deaf, completely hearing, and then somewhere in the middle. And everybody here classifies themselves as deaf. So their primary mode of communication is American Sign Language. They're also, again, I'll review. So because of where they learned, how they learned, and their level of deafness is going to determine their style and presentation and modeling of the language. Did that answer your question?
Yes, they said yes.
Okay, great. Okay, and so here we're going back to that end skill demonstration. Remember I told you where the student at the end of the module should be able to become one of these speakers? Again, when somebody's at home trying to learn a language, if they don't have someone to talk to, someone to converse with, let me just back up. If you are in a conversation where you can't predict or forecast what that person is going to say, it's much harder to acquire the words and then formulate an expressive response that makes sense. So at the start here, we just want the students to be able to be involved in a pretty scripted conversation that might be typical if you met someone in a coffee shop. So, what is your name? My name is Caroline. So what is your name? My name is Missy. So now Caroline's going to disappear here in a second, and the student is going to take the position of Caroline and answer this question. What's your name? So I would spell my name Dave, but my name, D-A-V-E. And we give you a lot of time here, just simply because it's hard at first to come up and express yourself. My name is Missy. And then, nice to meet you. So that would be your first conversation. It's simulated, but that's where it really needs to be when you're a super early language learner. And then we go through a bunch of other phrases each week or each module. And then if you kind of follow the American Council on Teaching Foreign Language and the standards and the best practices, one of the things that is extremely valuable is if you can go home or finish your class or do your studying and then teach someone what you've just learned, you're cementing that knowledge and making it much more accessible in your conversations in sign language. So if you can go back and teach your friend, your parents, your brothers and sisters or roommate a few of these words, it enables you to actually become a better signer faster.
Hey, Dave, I've got a question.
Yes.
When you're signing, how important is something like facial expressions or things like that? Is it mostly about the hands, or do facial expressions play a role?
Facial expressions are huge. And that, hopefully you didn't pick it up on. My facial expressions are a weak, it's not my best skill. Some deaf are completely cold-faced, what's the word for it? Just expressionless, but most are super animated. And I'll give you an example. If I just sit, this is the sign for hot, the physical hand motion of hot right here. If I just do this, you don't really see hot. But if I go, hot, or same with cold, this is the hand shape for cold and kind of showing shivering. But if I go, it's cold outside, it's cold, then you really see cold. Or, it's hot, it's not bad, it's hot. The facial expressions help give more context to the language itself.
Got it.
And I'm going to show you one other thing. I'm going to jump away from this because that's a great question. course outline. Okay. We get further on here, classifiers and non, so you see right here, classifiers and non-manual markers. Oh, we do have it here. I took that, wait a minute. Yeah, okay, I missed it. So more discussion about classifiers. Yeah, okay, we don't have it yet. That's right. It's a little more of a complex topic. We introduced it shortly after the first lesson. Okay, here's children. Oops, let me get there. So almost every word in sign language can be described by these 5 different things, and they're, guess what, called 5 parameters. And so children has this open B hand shape, palm down, movement bouncing in front of my body. So I go children. So the first 4 describe that. But the non-manual markers could be a lot more than that or almost nothing. It really depends. Like, look at that. You see her right there, kind of pinching her eyebrows, looking like children. Like, you know, where are the children? Or, those children. So that facial expression that ties the 4 parameters together is really contextual and based upon, you know, getting to know the language at a deeper level. So every week we go through, you know, no pun intended, a handful of these 5 parameters. We introduce it early. It's a little bit more of a complex topic for learners of language, but the sooner the learners understand this concept about the formation of the words and the context that the facial expressions add, the better they'll be as signers and the better understood they'll be as signers.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah. So receptive homework, here we go. Pretty simple. We're just going to click on the videos, and this will be signed for name. So we'll go over here, select name, and then I'll do one more and then hit submit. Night. That could be evening also, but the way she's mouthing it, I'm calling that night. And then for this third one, I'll just, I know this is the wrong answer. Sim will grade our homework. And look, I got 2 points. I got the first 2 correct, and I didn't answer any of the other ones correct, and I got number 3 wrong. So that really, aside from having different content, is the structure and layout of these 15 modules. And for Mango, there are 2 sets. So there's what we would call ASL 101, or for first semester or beginning signers or first year, certainly at the high school level. They'll typically use this course for an entire year, 2 semesters. And then the second course, the second 102, for another 2 semesters. Colleges, it just depends. And then individual learners, it's at their own pace. It's as fast or as slow as they want to go. So that concludes the formal part of my presentation. I'll open it up for more questions, observations. Would love to get your feedback and thoughts. Anybody, any other questions out there? Okay, so next steps are certainly for you to contact Jeff or Brittany, and you can contact myself too if you like. I can answer any of the questions that you have about the sign language, and Brittany can handle the Mango specific questions, and Jeff, you know him, he can handle the consortium questions. So between the 3 of us, we should be able to get you moving forward with sign language. Jeff, looks like you were going to say something.
I was just gonna say thank you so much, Dave. I said this to Dave when I got a little preview, but this is one of those moments where I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe no one's ever done this before. The mirroring, the magic mirror, as you call that, I think is just, I don't know, that just seems brilliant. Like what a great way to kind of help the learner really emulate what they're seeing on the screen and feel like they're getting it right. You're exactly right. It does a great job of I don't know, replicating Mango's spoken languages tools where you can hear yourself speaking, being able to see yourself speaking in the ASL program seems like a no-brainer. I was blown away when I saw it, but I never would have thought of that. I can't believe it. So super cool.
Hey, I'll add one more thing. I'm glad you brought that up. Mango is also built in the monitoring and statistics, similar to what your dashboard would look like for, say, Spanish or French, as far as checking on patron adoption and use rates.
Yeah, that's right. So if you're ever looking at your stats, you'll be able to see any stats for American Sign Language as well now. We have that built into our Mango admin portal.
Well, I'll echo, oh, we had another question come.
They're asking, would you mind going over the magic mirror feature one more time? They missed a little bit of the magic mirror feature.
For sure. So right from the very start, our intent is to have you start signing, expressing, and acquiring signs from native signers. I go back to my first experience learning Spanish when I was a freshman in high school. Teacher was an immigrant from Cuba, and we walk in, and it's like, "Hola, me llamo Señorita Bonet," and I just like, oh, this is going to be hard. I had no idea that it was going to be completely immersive, and she wasn't going to speak English to us. But that's the way you need to learn a language. You need at least 90% of that time spent in the target language. And the theory can come later, but I don't need to know Spanish word order on the first day. I just need to hear someone say, hey, my name is so-and-so, or, thank you, or good morning. I don't need to know the theory behind why the words come in a certain order. So here we go with the magic mirror at the start, getting started. I'm just going to copy this signer as she goes through about 20 to 25 or 30 words. Hello, hello. And this lets me model and have like instant feedback. So if I did that weird, I'd see it, because you're not used to speaking with your hands. So you just might not know where they are. So yours right in front. It could be over here too, but name. So we do this throughout the curriculum in certain areas where we really want you to practice the signing. When there are places when we don't want you to practice the signing, but we do actually introduce a little bit of theory, or in this case, the end skill demonstration, there is no magic mirror. We just want you to look at this and absorb your goal for the end of the module. And then comes back here for the phrases and the vocabulary in certain areas as well. It's like, are you okay? You're okay. And again, it's just for that practice to give you the feedback. If you were taking Spanish from Mango, you would see the sine wave of your spoken voice, and you could compare it and overlay it to the properly modeled voice and figure out, if you're still pronouncing the word properly. And they're also going to check that too. They have an amazing technology behind their spoken languages.
Another question here. Is it reversed so your left or right hand matches, or does it look the same as her?
Okay, so so she's right-handed, signing right-handed, and this is actually my right hand going. I've had this question before. If when you're expressing yourself, if you try not to overthink that, because that's a very valid question, you're going to do it just the way it's demonstrated. But if you look, it's going to my left elbow. This is my left elbow here. So it's doing that. It's going down. But on the screen here for her, it's going to the right. But if you don't overthink that and just try and copy that signer, it's right-handed signing. I happen to be left-handed, and I sometimes go back to left-handed signing. It's not optimum, but you can be all left. It's better to be one or the other, typically all left or all right. But some people bounce back and forth. Hopefully that answered your question. Looks like there's another one.
She's just reiterating. So yes, if you are doing the same hand as her, it will look like hers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, if there's nothing else, I really appreciate your time, and certainly follow up with Jeff, Brittany, or myself.
Yep.
And you can get my contact information. I'll put it in the chat here real quick.
Yeah, I'll put mine in the chat as well. But Jeff, as I understand it, they reach out to you first and then you'd reach out to us, correct?
Yeah, I mean, we always say we don't have any reason to think that Brittany will be sad to hear from somebody, but
Yeah.
you can always, come to us, particularly if you want to talk about, people watching this session will know how to request quotes from us, request trials from us. Please do feel free to reach out to us. It does make sense to kind of like have the communication flow that way. That way we can sort of make sure that we're getting you the information you need, making sure that Brittany's got the information that she needs if we need to make a quote, or the details that she may need to get a trial up and running at your institution or whatever. We always love to be part of the flow of conversation, just so that we can make sure that everything's happening in the right order.
Yep.
And so I'll reiterate what everyone else has said and say thank you for joining us today, those of you who are watching us live and by the recording. And thank you so much to Dave and to Brittany for giving us a look at this. I can't think of a better word. It's a really cool program for learning what is a really important language for us to be focusing on here in our communities. So I'm excited about the benefits that come, just not only just for someone who wants to learn the language, which is good enough, but the additional information about the kind of unique cultural aspects that come along with American Sign Language. I have to admit, never occurred to me either. Naturally, intellectually, I know that learning to speak any language, there are important kind of cultural tie-ins that will be part of your language learning. It just for whatever reason shows my own bias or my own kind of narrow view. I never considered that would also be true of learning American Sign Language and interacting with deaf people. So that's really another aspect that I'm super impressed with, and I hope that our members will want to know more and want to give it a try for themselves.
Okay, thank you.
I think that's it. We will we'll wrap up for today. Thanks again, Dave and Brittany, and thank you all for joining us both live and recording. Reach out if you need more information, and we'll see you again soon. Bye, everyone.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. This is my dog.
Oh, nice.
Very cute.
Bye,
All right.
everyone.
Have a great day.
You too.